Assalamu alaikum. This is part 3 about the feminizing ta, or the feminine and masculine. Last time we finished by discussing different dictionaries and how to look for that ta that indicates the feminine. Now I will discuss another resource. These resources are advanced, so it's not about studying these resources, but whatever they have as something we can use as a clue when you analyze a text, I will just point that out. So don't look at this as studying this and remembering or memorizing all this stuff. You don't have to. Just get an idea what to look for. This way, when you analyze a text, you can think of possible ways of following or investigating what the word is or what the text is. This here is another book from Arabic collections online. You see, this here is the kitab شرح العلامة ابن عقيل على ألفية العلامة ابن مالك. You see this here in an explanation of this alfiya. Alfiya means 1,000. So this is a name they give to this poem made by this scholar, Ibn Malik, here. Has 1,000 verses in it. Each verse teaches some grammar law or part of a grammar law. This here is just 2 lines of poetry about the author of this new edition, explaining how this poem is useful, or it has benefits. As he says here, this alfiya for this scholar is delightful, and it has the evidence of 1,000 clue. So he's saying that the way he composed his poem, so each verse is an evidence to how delightful that is. Too many people or scholars did explanations or interpreted this poem, and he's saying here the best of it is this one here, made by this scholar Ibn Aqil. Also, you see, this here is from the Literature Press in Beirut, in Lebanon. Also the year 1885. So the part of this book that I will cover is at the end or past half of this poem. So, as I said, it's not about studying these texts, it's about using whatever clues we can use. So here we have 2 verses from that poem, and notice they have all diacritics. That's why I like these. So you can read them perfectly. If you know how to use these diacritics, you will sound them or pronounce them just like the Arabs did 1400 years ago. Here, التأنيث, feminizing. It says علامة التأنيث تاء أو ألف. The indicator or the sign for feminizing التأنيث is this ta. I wrote that before. Let me write it here again. This is an open ta. This is a tied ta by itself, and this here is a ta connected to a word. And sometimes you'll see it like this, or sometimes you'll see it like this, or like this. That's how it's written. If it's like this with no dots, this is a ha, it's a pronoun. Also, when you hear me read it, you will notice that even if it's a ta, when I stop at it, I pronounce it as a ha. So, this is quick note. We will cover this more and more. But as I said, I'll just mention things in passing. This way, you will have some familiarity with it. You don't have to remember it or understand it, but just concentrate on these main clues we're looking at. So here, notice علامة. This is a feminizing ta here. This looks like this one. So when I continue, I say علامة التأنيث. You notice I pronounced it. I said علامة التأنيث. But if I stop here, I would say علامة, ma, ha, just like a light ha, علامة. And that's how you will hear it. And when you talk, that's how it's pronounced in the classical Arabic. So when I read it, I say علامة التأنيث تاء. This here is the name for this letter, ta. Or alif. So now we discussed this one clue that indicates feminizing, but there is another one, this alif here. So it could look like this at the end of a word, or could look like this, and there is a hamza after it, So this is shortened, it's called maqsura, and this is mamduda, extended. So these are the three marks for feminizing. We covered this تا, then this ألف. He's saying علامة التأنيث تاء أو ألف وفي أسام قدروا التاء كالكتف. Here he's saying in some names they estimated there is a ta, meaning they estimated there is a ta in that nouns. You know the nouns that I described that have no indication, like yad. This is a hand. Here he's using katif, shoulder. You see katif here. This is katif. There is none of these signs. There is no ta, no no different shape of this alif here. So he mentioned the ta, then the alif. The alif there is a variation of it, two variations. This one here and this one here. He says here, وفي أسامي, in some names, they estimated this ta to be there. So that's how they know that it's feminine. It's not they choose that the noun will become a feminine or masculine. It's how they used it. So if the Arabs 1400 years ago used to describe a hand, point to it with a feminine demonstrative noun, or describe it with a feminine description, then even if this noun did not have any feminizing marks like these, it's considered to be feminine. That's how they do it. Now he gives you the clue how they use that. They estimated there is ta, and they need a proof to estimate that there is a ta at this katif. And here it goes, ويعرف التقدير بالضمير ونحوه. And this estimation, this is the two form of a noun, is known by the pronoun. So if you refer to the hand with the object pronoun ha, that's another way of recognizing what is a feminine or masculine. We use the demonstrative noun. Now we use the pronouns. Ha at the end of a verb is a feminine object. If it's who, that's masculine object. So he says that's how they estimate it. If they used to refer to it with a pronoun that is for feminine, so that noun is feminine. So katif here, you would use the feminine pronoun. Damir is a pronoun to refer to a shoulder, katif. Or a yad, a hand. That's you use a feminine pronoun. And the likes of it, وَنَحْوِهِ. So other clues. Anything that is feminine pronoun, demonstrative, or an adjective that is feminine, if it's used, that means that noun is feminine. كالرد في التصغير. He gives here an example they also use to recognize if the noun is feminine or not. There is a diminutive form in Arabic. So a hand, if you want to say it's a small hand, you don't have to say يد صغيرة, describe it. Use an adjective to make it, indicate it's a small. You can use another form. So you can say يدية, which is a diminutive form of that thing. If you want to say a small shoulder, you say كتيفة. So they're saying here, or here the author of this poem says, the pronoun or other things like diminutive. So when they used to use that diminutive form of this shoulder, they will rad here, they return the ta. So that's what he's saying. كالرد في التصغير. When they use that diminutive form, they return this ta to it. So it's as if this is the origin. It has the ta, but when it's separate by itself, they do not pronounce it. So these are just ways of thinking that you can use when you're analyzing these texts. So now you have more clues You can look at the pronoun used with the noun. You can look at the adjective of the noun if it's feminine. You can look at the diminutive if it's there. So all these are clues you can use when you're analyzing a text to find out if the noun. This will save you some time looking into dictionaries. If you have none of these clues, you just look up the dictionary just like we showed in the last video. And here he goes, now this goes the interpretation. It's not the poem. He's now explaining this poem. So here he goes deeper into that, just what I said, these things here. The origin of a noun is masculine, and feminizing is a variation or a branching off of that. So that's why they need a mark for that. So they're saying the masculine does not need a mark because that's what you start with. If you want to distinguish a feminine, you needed the mark then. That's why he's saying they're using this mark. That's the logic of they understand. And here he details this ta, this alif maqsura, the one I showed this here, or mamduda. And now he's saying this ta is used more. It's أكثر في الاستعمال. It's used more than any other marks, this ta. More than this alif. He says that's why they estimated more in names if they don't know what it is. So he's like ayn, it's feminine, but even if there is no indications, but that's how it's used as a feminine. Shoulder, katif. And here he just explaining with more details the same rule that we just saw in the poem in the verse. ويستدل على تأنيث ما لا علامة فيه ظاهرة من الأسماء المؤنثة بعود الضمير إليه مؤنثا نحو الكتف نهشتها. You see here he gave a verb نهشتها with the shoulder. It means biting into, or biting and taking a piece out of, or also could mean scratching. That cuts in. So now he uses here examples with a verb. الكتف نهشتها. The ha in نهشتها is the object pronoun. والعين كحلتها. والعين كحلتها. This ha in كحلتها is the object pronoun feminine for this type of treatment. And describing it, كوصفه, when you describe that noun. So here you said if you describe it with a feminine, مؤنث. نحو أكلت كتفا مشوية. I ate, أكلت, أكل is past tense, he ate. This ta is a pronoun for I. If I use the ضمة, أكلت, I ate. كتفا, that's the shoulder. مشوية, which is barbecued. So, or grilled, مشوية. كتفا مشوية. That's a description. You notice they use the ata to feminize this adjective. So by using that, this indicates that this noun is feminine. وكرد التاء إليه في التصغير. When you return the ta to it, when you use a diminutive noun or form, so here كتيفة, so كتف. If you want to say a small كتيفة, يدية, you see here the yad is يدية. This of course will go deeper, but for now I will just mention that this ta is used more in adjectives. It's not as much used in nouns. Also, I will add that some words do not follow this rule, and that's what the remaining of this discussion goes into. We will not go into that now. I think this is it from this text. Next time, inshallah, we continue with another text that discuss the same subject, because I think this is an important subject. You will come across it in every text you read. It's feminizing of a noun. Thank you for listening. See you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.